guys, welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Diaries. My name is Martin Lang and we're here at Denton, Texas, and today we're going to be talking about a whiskey that everybody should at least try once or should have in their home. This is an incredible whiskey. Got Whiskey of the Year in 2016. At the same time that the master distiller that created this whiskey won Master Distiller of the Year. The whiskey I'm talking about is Glenmorangie Signet. Now, Glenmorangie started in 1843. In that area, they've been distilling whiskey illegally since the 1700s. It has a rich history of going through different hands and mothballed twice during the whiskey boom, the bubble that burst in the early 1920s, then in Second World War as well, and then later on just got bought in the early 2000s by Hennessy. Now they have a great wood program. They actually own the forest in Ozark in Missouri that creates the American barrels that the whiskey goes into, and at the same time they lease those barrels to bourbon distilleries in America like Jack Daniels and so on. They really pay attention to detail, and they pay attention to a lot of the woods. So the core range that we talked about, one of them is the Nectar d'Or, then you got the La Santa, then you got the Quinta Ruban, and then you get the 10-year-old. Now the 10-year-old is just a standard 10-year-old American oak, but the other three gets aged for 10 years in some sort of in American oak, and then after that they get aged in either port, sauternes, or sherry cask. I'll say this because this is important for this whiskey in particular. This whiskey gets aged in American oak and in sherry cask or ex-oloroso sherry cask. But the interesting part about this whiskey as well is the mix of barley that they use. The barley that they use is called roasted barley. Roasted barley is most commonly, or chocolate malt, like the brewers would say it. It's malt that goes into producing a stout or a porter. A stout beer or a porter would be something like Guinness, for instance. So it's just it's basically they grab the malt, and when they dry it, they extra dry for a longer period of time, and they burn it, and it becomes actually dark, really like chocolate malt. For beer fans out there, they say that the transformation and of the malted barley actually creates more iron, and that's why they say that Guinness, for instance, have more iron in the beer than normal beers. Regardless of that, this produces a very particular type of new make spirit. After that, they age it in American oak and ex-oloroso sherries. But the interesting fact as well is that this is a non-age statement. But at the same time, they say that whiskeys up to 30 to 40 years old go into this whiskey per se. Now, Glenmorangie has a very particular style of whiskey of new make. They have 10 pot stills, and they have the tallest stills in Scotland, up to 8 meters tall. They produce about 6 million whiskies, 6 million liters of whiskey a year, and they consider some of the best-selling single malts in the world. It's a great whiskey, and Glenmorangie, as a matter of fact, they just don't do a bad whiskey. They have, I don't know, at this stage they have released 247 different bottlings over the course of the history, and I haven't tried the 247 obviously, but I've tried a lot of them and I just have never had a bad one. The packaging on this one is absolutely stunning. It's a nice heavy bottle, with a very thick bottom glass, and the lid as well is actually made out of metal with a cork, and it's just rock solid. It's really beautiful packaging, very unique. Bottle at 46% ABV, like most of the red aged whiskies. The Nectar d'Or, the La Santa, and the Quinta Ruban are all bottles of 46. And as I said in previous videos, I love that ABV. It just actually really carries the whiskey properly, and it's actually really good for the whiskey. Yeah, and you can smell it like this. The chocolate malt, what it does, and the combination with oloroso sherry casks, it just gives that little chocolate aroma on the nose. It's just delicious. Yeah, and on the mouth, you get that 70, as I said before, 70 to 80% chocolate, but at the same time dry fruits. You get the sherry notes, and also you get that sweetness that you get from American oak. Absolutely delicious. definitely worth having in your library, and hopefully you enjoy it. We'll see you next time. Slàinte.